Good morning. Well, born in 1937, I was 2 years old when the war started, so I haven't got too clear a memory of that, but I was 7. I was 7 years old when the war in Europe ended, and 8 years old when the war with Japan ended. There were like 2 wars, one in Europe, one in the Far East. Yes, I remember that very clearly. Yeah, there was a big bonfire on the village green, and they burned effigies of Hitler and Goering, and yes. My goodness me. Yes, all my early childhood was spent among men in khaki and tanks and guns and things. I was very familiar with it all. And the sounds of, we lived near one of the great airfields during the Battle of Britain. So as children, I knew all the aeroplanes going over, listening to them. We lived in a rather isolated house, it's out in the country, and Mother brought us downstairs. We had our beds down in the kitchen, in case something fell on our roof, and there was blackout. We weren't allowed to shine lights. We had to have a little light, and all the curtains had all the windows had heavy black curtains. And of course there was food rationing. I don't think I knew what butter was until the end of the war. Or chocolate. Lots of things we didn't have. No bananas. I don't remember any fruit really. We had a big orchard of our own, so we had apples, and Mum used to bottle plums. We had cherries during the summer and gooseberries. But I don't think there was much in the way of shops. We did have couple of refugee children from London on 1 or 2 or more occasions. I don't just remember. I remember it was very difficult for my mother because, of course, they had different habits and different upbringing. And yeah, most of the time, I don't think I ever questioned war, really. I just took it for granted. That's how life was. The soldiers were always very nice to us and friendly. We used to love them. They would be nice to us. Yes, it was only afterwards, really, that as I grew older, that I began to think about it all. There was a time when I went to South America during my sort of agonizing years as a young man, when I was 26, and of course my father was dead against it, and I went to see our old family lawyer in Sheffield at the time, and I asked him when were the happiest times of his life. Of course, he was a successful man, being a lawyer in a plush office. And he didn't answer at once. He looked out of the window rather wistfully for a few minutes. Then he turned and said, "The 2 world wars, both the First World War and the Second." Yes, it was remarkable how... Well, I've been in the army myself, and I remember it with great affection. There was such a wonderful, I don't know, I suppose the word is camaraderie, comradeship, really. And the army's marvellous at giving you a reason for existence. It doesn't encourage you to think, but it gives you a very strong sort of ethos for living, which at that young age, I was then 18, I didn't question. And there's something I always found basically decent and clean about soldiering. I think the public get a very screwed up idea of it, really, just thinking it exists for killing. It's nothing, it's not like that at all. It's much more than that. It's to do with, I suppose, keeping straight, really, if one can say that, in a world of confusion. Service, that's the word, service. That was it. So I think this present coronavirus is remindful of those war years when we're sort of united in a common cause. People are a bit less selfish than usual. And everybody makes a fuss about not having their particular sort of food or something to begin with, and then after a day or two, well, you just shrug your shoulders, you accept it, and you can live perfectly well with some substitute food or doing without things. They're really not so essential as we think they are when it comes to the point. And often you discover a new freedom, really. Again, it's this old thing of the less of ego, the less of selfish, I want this and I want that, I want it my way. Well, the less we have of that, the happier we are, really. Yes, in many ways, we're really happier when we come under authority. When life is easy, it's all too easy to criticise the government, criticise everybody. But when things get a bit tough, then it's very comforting to have a strong leader telling you what to do. And of course the very, very best example of this, and the highest and best authority of all, is when you come under the authority of God, of this presence, this ever-present invisible authority which I keep talking about. This is the greatest possible comfort to us when we, as Jesus tells us to lay your cares, no, not quite like that, lay your burdens upon the Lord. This is exactly what is required of us. The burden, of course, is the ego with all its weight, and it is a heavy weight, isn't it? A great big black heavy weight that bows us down, me and my troubles. And when you can just offload that onto one who knows better, which is God, then goodness me, you start to feel better immediately. You really do. It doesn't really matter then if the body is ill or got his feet hurt or whatever. Your problem is because you're immediately relieved in your heart and mind, and that's really where the agony of these situations is. It's not so much whether the body's coughing and sneezing, it's the attitude we have towards it. When you can even accept your burdens with a smile and think, well, God knows best, it's half the problem solved. I think it was John the Baptist who when he met after he met Jesus, he said, I must decrease. That's right, I must decrease and he must increase. That's exactly right. And this is what you and I must do, my dears, if we want to get our act the right way around. The less of me, the more of God. That's our own equivalent. That's exactly what the work is. The less of me, the more of God. Emblazon this on your T-shirt, my dear, and say it 100 times a day, and you'll feel better. You take my word. Okay? Thank you for listening. God bless you. See you tomorrow.